The Buffalo Bills are going to be home this week against America's team. We'll talk about that and more today on Red, White, and Ruthless, presented by Nickel City Mafia. What is up, Nickel City Mafia? Welcome back to another edition of the Red, White, and Ruthless, presented by Nickel City Mafia, where our family business is football. I'm joined, like every other week that we have, by my brother from another mother and Sean Kula to the right of me. And I have Tommy to the left of me from Mafia Sports Report, who is joining us. You know, he has probably one of the better backdrops that you could possibly have. But I won't say it's better than Jake Podger's channel. You know, I love the backdrop that he has too. But let me start with my buddy Sean first of all. How you doing tonight, man?
Just ready for tomorrow. Want it to be 4:30, but I'm doing all right.
Hey, I feel you on that. I'm ready for 4:30. I can't wait for these games. We didn't get a lot of help today. We had the Cincinnati Bengals won, which doesn't really help us. It hurts us a little bit, but you know, I still think there's a way for us to get into the playoffs. There's always ways for us to get in there, but it'll be a good matchup this week against a gunslinging team. It's going to be like a wild, wild west showdown, and that's how we're going to title that. I wish I had the soundboard just like Mike Fortin has. That would be pretty cool to have, but I don't have anything like that. I'd hit that whip real quick. But let me throw it over to Tommy real quick. How you doing tonight, Tommy?
What is going on, fellas? Brett, Sean, how you doing, man? Guys, man, we needed the Bengals to lose today, and the sorry-ass Vikings could not take care of business. So stupid, the play calling at the end. Third down, you run it with the quarterback. Doesn't work. By the way, you have a undersized receiver pushing him. Made no sense. Even the announcers like, what the fuck are they doing? Then you have fourth down. They call a timeout. So you know the defense of the Bengals know what you're about to do. You line up and you do the same formation, the same play. Of course, they're going to stuff it just like they did. And, of course, the momentum was totally lost at that point. And, yeah, they did us no favors. So, big weekend for us. We need this win. If we win and the Lions help us out tonight and Houston loses, we can be in the eighth spot. So we do still jump up. But right now, Browns are sitting pretty at 8-5. We got to hope they lose this weekend as well. They can go to 86. We still don't jump them because of the conference record. We won't jump Cincinnati because of the conference, because they beat us actually. And who was the other team we wouldn't jump? We wouldn't jump. The Colts, because the Colts have a better conference record. So we need some help. But right now, man, we just need to concentrate on us. We need to win this game. I said it. I've been saying it for the past 2 weeks. I think if we were to beat the Chiefs, which we did, and the Cowboys, we can run the table. And the good news for us as Bills fans, the Dolphins are starting to fall apart. And we may wind up winning the division and not even have to worry about jumping teams or what team's better in the conference. So things could unfold like that as well. It's going to be interesting also, guys, keeping watch out for the Jets-Dolphins game. If the Dolphins lose that game, boy, are they in some big fucking trouble, because they got the Cowboys, the Ravens, and the Bills. We could take the division right there. So look out for that game this weekend. So this weekend for the Bills is very important. Very important. A lot of games to watch out for.
I completely agree with you there, Tommy. You said it best. I mean, you got to pretty much my point right there, which was incredible. We do have a couple people in the chat real quick that I want to get to real fast. We have Dolphin Keith, who always jumps in and is our troller from the AFC East Summit. And hey, guys, first of all, he's showing a little bit of kind of aggressiveness to him, but which is good. He says ways for you to get into the playoffs. He's wondering. We were waiting for the Dolphins to choke again, which is, we'll see what happens. Also have Bills fan CA coming in the chat. Appreciate you for joining us, saying looking good, guys. Bengals winning was a bummer. Can't believe they are keeping it together, which we talked about it off air between Tommy and I. We still are wondering that too, but also have Alpha Rob coming in. If Kansas City beat Cincinnati in a few weeks, I'm imagining he's saying we will be in, and the Finns aren't winning another game. Dolphin Keep also coming in saying he keeps it real and he never trolls as well. But let's jump into this primetime matchup that we're going to have. This is the game that is one of the last later games that we'll have of the year. We have one more game that's probably going to be late, and then I imagine they will flex the Miami Dolphins game into a late game as well. But this is going to be probably the best matchup for the Bills this season, and probably the biggest game of the season for the Bills, because this is a team that in the Dallas Cowboys that they have stars all over the field, and we're going to get into it. We have a ton of things to talk about. We're going to talk about a lot of the playmakers, not only on the Dallas Cowboys, but we're also going to talk about some of the playmakers on the Buffalo Bills that are going to need to show out a little bit more. Let's start it with Tommy. I'm going to let you lead this off for our first segment that we're going to have, which is going to be talking about the Bills and different ways that they can expose the secondary of the Dallas Cowboys that have been without, and it would have been a great matchup to see with Trayvon Diggs versus Stephon Diggs. We won't see that this week, and we won't see it this season, but we will see a good matchup between two other cornerbacks in Deron Bland and Stephon Gilmore that are going to be going up against Stephon Diggs. So let me throw it over to you, Tommy, and talk about this matchup that we're going to see and how the Bills can exploit these the secondary of the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, first of all, yeah, Diggs being out obviously for the season, that was a huge loss for the Cowboys. But Gilmore, listen, Gilmore's who he is. We know who Gilmore is. We had him. We drafted him. He was a solid pickup for the Cowboys. But he's not. I would say he's a shell of himself, but he's still pretty good. He still makes plays on the field. I wouldn't say he's top tier corner anymore, but he still can get out there and get the job done. But how I see us getting our receivers open this game is we need to run the ball. We need to run the ball, and that will open up play action more, which will in effect help the passing game out. Also, too, the 12 personnel. We tried to go back to it last week. It just doesn't work. Like, this is not for us. We shouldn't do that. We need to get Dawson Knox more into the blocking role. Unfortunately, I get it, $14 million man, but right now that's what's working. We can't go away from what's not. What we tried in the beginning of the season, 12 personnel didn't work. So let's go back to what was working. 11 personnel. Let's get Let's get Shakir back involved in the game. He was a little bit quiet last week. I felt like we kind of took him out of the game plan a little bit there too when Dawson Knox returned. And listen, if they're getting after Josh this game like KC did, get a little protection back in the backfield. Get it doesn't matter. Get Murray back there. Get Knox back there. Buy Allen a little bit more time so he can go through his reads for guys like Shakir. Obviously, Diggs, Davis to get open. But I will say last week, I felt like our receivers were sluggish. I really do. Coming out of that bye week, James Cook wasn't sluggish. I thought Josh Allen was pretty good, but I thought Diggs looked sluggish. I thought Davis looked sluggish. I thought Shakir was a little sluggish. We're getting nothing from Sherfield. We're getting nothing really from Hardy, even though he did have one big play, but still – overall, he's just not providing much on the offensive side of the ball. So those three guys, I would say, are the primary guys that need to wake up this game. It's going to be Diggs, Davis, and Shakir as far as receiver, and Dalton Kincaid. I felt like we went back to what we were doing with Kincaid last week, which was the short underneath stuff. We need to let Kincaid run a better route tree, go a little bit deeper, and we'll be okay. We have the weapons. It's just giving Josh a little bit more time and stop with the 12 personnel. It's not working. Run the ball. It's going to be a rainy day. Y'all know that. 40 degrees, raining pretty much the whole game. If we run the ball, open up play action, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I love what you're saying there, Tommy. I think that's perfect. I mean, that's going to be the recipe for how to beat the Dallas Cowboys. But let me throw it over to Sean. Let me get his side of things on this topic too. See what he thinks as well.
How to beat Dallas? How to expose Dallas? Well, stay away from Micah Parsons, and that's going to be on Josh to see where he is on the field.
Well, Sean, I'm going to stop you right there real quick, okay? Because I'm only talking about the secondary. I don't want to talk about Micah Parsons yet. Yeah, so let's not jump the gun on some of the guys. I usually do it myself, but I'm going to stop you there because I don't want to talk about Micah Parsons yet because, you know, let's keep him for a special last topic that we're going to talk about. So.
Well, secondary, it's really on the receivers. I mean, it's hard to expose something if you don't got the firepower. So if Gabe Davis is irrelevant like he's been half the year, and then Diggs is getting, you know, bracketed by Bland and a safety, it's going to be tough because, as you know, like Tommy said, Gilly isn't, you know, prime time Gilly anymore. But if he's on a secondary or third wide receiver, you know, he's still, like Tommy said, he'll still make plays. So it's imperative that guys like Davis remain physical and, you know, being aggressive. You saw DK Metcalf on Deron Bland. Deron Bland's still the number one ranked corner in the NFL with 5 pick sixes. But if you're big physical guy like Gabe Davis is, he's an aggressive corner, so he's going to try to make a play. So if we attack in that sense and not be afraid of, you know, oh, he might jump a route or he might, you know, get a pick. If you do that, you can maybe replicate what DK Metcalf did, a couple touchdowns, over 100 yards, and because he has gotten beat, but he's still opportunistic, just like their whole secondary is. So it's really just, you know, crisp routes, be fast, physical, and, you know, wide receivers have the upper hand in wet. When it's wet, the wide receivers have the advantage there. So should be able to get some separation.
Yeah, Sean, I love that. And I do apologize, guys, for the ticker real quick. I got to make a quick change to that bottom part of that. I didn't realize that it said that Dane Jackson and Taylor Rapp were out. So I'm going to make a quick change on that so that you don't see that. Taylor Rapp and Dane Jackson are both not out. So
1 second, fellas. I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries, man. No worries, man. But let's go over to Sean real quick. And I want to talk about the second topic. That's going to be another important one that we will have. And the second one is going to be talking about the matchup that we're going to be facing on our side of the ball in our secondary, where we're going to have to go up against one of the primetime receivers and one of the better number 88s that plays for the Dallas Cowboys. You know, we talked about Des Bryant before. Michael Irvin has a good numbers in the 88 jersey, but I think that personally that the numbers could be broken in some of the records for the Dallas Cowboys, and maybe single season records could be beaten by CeeDee Lamb. So let's talk a little bit about CeeDee Lamb and the matchup that the Bills are going to have to go up against with him. And I want to know from you, Sean, how can the Bills protect against CeeDee Lamb, who's been having some pretty good numbers over the last couple of weeks?
They don't. being brutally honest, it's going to be rough. CeeDee Lamb is just, like you mentioned, he's that guy. He can break Cowboys records, and he's like, the difference between him and Diggs is Diggs can get shut down. CeeDee Lamb won't get shut down. CeeDee Lamb will always make plays. They'll make sure he makes plays. So he'll line up in the slot. He'll line up at X, Y. They'll do anything they can to get 88 to football. He'll get at least 10 targets. And if he's on Teron Johnson, as good as TJ is, complete mismatch. It's gonna be horrible.
Yeah.
And the only saving grace, I think, is if he lines up outside and Rasul Douglas is physical. Because Rasul Douglas is a physical corner, and again, CeeDee's gonna make plays regardless. He's gonna make a difference in every game he's in. And, and if you double them or bracket them, then you got multiple other weapons that makes it harder to even do that. So hopefully he doesn't line up in the slot all the time. And hopefully Rasul Douglas can be physical and stop him. But that guy's he's a game changer, man. And stopping him is going to be, if we do limit him, which there's no stopping him. If you limit him, I'll be impressed. If he gets under 100 yards, I'll be extremely impressed with our secondary.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to keep him under 100 yards, but I think the secondary for the Bills, there's ways that we can bracket him, and it's going to have to come down to the Bills putting Rasul Douglas on him. It'll be to be determined if it's going to be either Dane Jackson or possibly Christian Benford on the other side of the ball that's going to be out there. But I want to see the other cornerback, whoever it's going to be that's out there, I want to see them be physical as well on both sides of the ball when you're going up against Brandon Cooks as well. He's been making some big plays over the last couple of weeks as well. But I think for sure for the Buffalo Bills, they have to put single high safety over the top, and that's going to have to come down to Jordan Poyer being on the same side of the ball as wherever CeeDee Lamb is. So that's probably where I would say on that. But I'm sorry, Tommy, let me turn it over to you on that same topic. How do you think the Bills can move and play chess with the Dallas Cowboys with CeeDee Lamb?
I mean, listen, he's their number one. We know that. And I got to say, listen, Rasul Douglas has been a bright spot for this team. Like that was something, if we didn't get Rasul Douglas, we might be in some serious trouble. This record may not. Yeah, like that was a great addition. That was an addition that had to be done. And I think he's been playing very well. I only saw one game so far. I was a little disappointed, and that was what game was that? The Philly game. Kind of gave up on a play. Just didn't have his best game as a Buffalo Bill, but he bounced back. I thought he played very well in the Chiefs game. He's a physical receiver. He's a taller receiver. I think he matches up well. Now, will he be matched up well? I mean, will he be matched up with CeeDee Lamb? I don't know. It could be Benford. And Benford, by the way, has been getting better as well. So I think we'll be okay with them. The key is to get pressure on Dak Prescott. That's the key. Put pressure on Dak Prescott. You'll limit. You'll cause mistakes, early throws, sacks. Obviously, just that's the key to stopping the Cowboys. Put pressure on Prescott. So I'm not worried about CeeDee Lamb. I'm really not. I feel like the Bills in general, going against teams number ones, we fare pretty well. We don't shit the bed against number one receivers. Like I'm just saying, like they do okay, but we've locked Hill down since he's become since he's joined the Dolphins. He's our primary guy. We've done very well against him. I thought we did well against AJ Brown. We did very well against Mike Evans. Top dudes, man. Top receivers in the game. And I felt like this team without Trey White has still done a very well job. Now, with that being said, Micah Hyde, him being out that's big. That is big because he is a leader of this defense. But we do got Rapp, and Rapp can fill in, and that's why we signed him. And I trust Rapp. So I think we'll be okay. But no Hyde, that kind of hurts us a little bit. But I think we'll be okay, man.
I completely agree with you there. And Micah Hyde's going to be a major blow for the Buffalo Bills.
I think Micah Hyde's done for the season, guys. I think so. I think McDermott kind of gave us a clue when he said he probably will be going on IR. Like if between him and AJ, it'd probably be more so Hyde.
Yeah.
It has to do with his neck, which once again is something that is, with him on his career, it's been bothering him. He's had surgery twice. That's a huge loss if we lose him for the season, and we may. And I'll tell you, the other clue to that was Justin Shorter. You would never probably even heard Sean McDermott talking about Shorter potentially coming on off IR. And if that happens, then guess what? Hyde would probably go on IR, which would fill in this empty spot and that might be Justin Shorter. Just throwing that out there, because that spot now would be open. You wouldn't have to cut a player to put him on the 53,
Right.
because Hyde would be on IR. So just throwing that out there, it's a big possibility that Hyde is done for this season.
Very much so. I think it's probably a guarantee, especially looking back to last season and him missing a ton of time that he did with the neck injury. Then you have a stinger, and this is the same injury that he had just a couple of weeks ago. Now he has another neck stinger, and this could, and I said it on the group chat that we have, I said that this could not only be season ending, but it could be career ending too, because if you remember back to a couple of years ago, the Bills had Aaron Williams, same 23, same jersey that he had. And he had a couple of injuries that happened, and pretty much the Jarvis Landry hit took him out of his career. And this very well could be the same for Micah Hyde. I'm praying it's not, obviously, because he's a great player, great in the locker room, important vocal person in our locker room. And I hope that if he doesn't make it through the season, I hope he does stay around this year, and at least he becomes a vocal person on the sidelines. And if it's career ending, then I definitely would like to see him become an assistant coach with the Buffalo Bills, because I think that he's very important to our locker room. But let's move on from the safety positions and the secondary, and let's move into another topic that I want to get to, which is going to be going over to Sean Kula, talking about the matchups that we're going to have up front. And I want to start off by talking about the offensive line for the Buffalo Bills. And this is one of the better topics that we're going to have. And Sean, you do videos all the time. You do film studies on the offensive line. You've been praising it all year long. I'm giving you your flowers right now. You've said it since the beginning of the year, how the Buffalo Bills offensive line has looked so much better. And you just came out with a video on your channel as well. I haven't gotten to it personally. I will be getting to it after this show. But you talked about the offensive line for the Buffalo Bills. And if you are new to the channel and you don't already go over to the Red, White, and Bills and Mafia Sports Report, check out their channels. Check out the film study that Sean does. But let's talk about the offensive line and this matchup that they're going to have. The number one, the Dallas Cowboys are going to be without one of their big-time defensive tackles that they have. But this matchup for the Buffalo Bills is going to be a difficult one, especially with Micah Parsons, who's going to find the weak point on the Bills' offensive line. So how can the Bills keep Josh Allen and his pocket clean this week and make sure that he stays upright?
Well, part of it's Josh Allen. So like I was going to mention earlier, you see where Micah Parsons is on the field. He's going to line up at D tackle, left end, right end, linebacker, and he's going to line up anywhere. And the key for a player like that, they compare him to Lawrence Taylor. There's a reason why they do that, because he's the best defensive player in the world right now. So just ahead of time, he is going to make plays. He's not going to be 10 sacks and just make every single play, but he's going to make plays regardless. So just so everybody's aware. But so say you see him lined up one-on-one with Spencer Brown, right? It's up to Josh Allen, who makes $300 million, who's 6 years in the system. It's all for him, this whole system, Daboll, Dorsey, and Joe Brady, to say, okay, I got Dawson Knox off the ball to the left. I'm going to call him in motion. He's going to chip and help with Spencer Brown. He could do that anytime he wants. It doesn't matter what the play call is. Those stuff is in the place purposely so you can do that. So he needs to see the field. He needs to see where Micah Parsons is and say, oh, okay, well, now I can have my running back who's on my left hip. I can call something and have him go to the right and also help blocking in case someone comes out from over here. So it's going to be a challenge for everybody because they still have DeMarcus Lawrence. They got Osa Digizua, who's also a good defensive tackle. So they're going to have their work cut out for them, but they've been primed for this. They played the Jets twice with guys like Quentin Williams, Chris Jones, and other guys. I mean, they played great defensive fronts for the last 6 weeks. So they're definitely – and Philly. I
was going to say with Jordan Davis.
With Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, who they did pretty well against. So, it's going to be difficult. But, again, it's up to the offense as a whole, offensive line, running backs, chippers, Josh Allen. to help himself. And again, as I mentioned in the videos all the time, and you can see it, Josh also creates a lot of pressures for himself. Like Deion Dawkins is taking a guy for a walk out to the left side, then Josh has a clean pocket, and then he rolls out to the left and then runs right into Dawkins' guy. And it looks like Dawkins had a bad rep. But really, it's Josh just needed to step up in the pocket and make a throw. So he's got to be looking at the fields, always scanning, see where Micah Parsons is. And then, again, he's going to make plays, but it's just how much you can limit him. And, again, he's a game changer. So, but I have confidence in this offensive line. I have confidence in Josh to call proper protections for himself, and I trust Josh to, send people in motion to help chip or whatever he's got to do to make sure he's not as much of a factor. And for situations like running, right? You see Micah Parsons up to the play calls running to the left, zone run to the left or whatever. You see Micah Parsons over there. Audible, switch to the right side to get away from him, because he's Lawrence Taylor, 2.0 for a reason. So if you run at him, he's going to make plays. If you double him, he'll eventually make plays. He's faster too. So if you got a pulling guard or whatever, he's going to beat him. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough matchup, but I think the Bills are going to be prepared for this. Like you said, Sean, they've gone up against some elite defensive lines this season in the Jets, number one, going up against them twice. Also, the Miami Dolphins, they don't have a bad defensive line too. But the ones that I'm thinking of are obviously Philly. Those are a good one. And then also the Washington Commanders as well, that we didn't even talk about them either. So some big time defensive fronts that the Bills are going to go up against. But I think there's one other key for the Buffalo Bills and how they're going to be able to stop Micah Parsons, and that's going to be in Dawson Knox being able to block as well. That's going to be a very important factor into that. And I think that could be a very big focal point for the Bills in order to make sure that they are clearing Micah Parsons out of the way, because you have to double, triple team, whatever the case is. Make sure that he's not going to be a focal point in this offense. But I'm going to throw it over to Tommy, give his thoughts on that, how you can stop Micah Parsons, number one, and how you can make sure that you keep a clean pocket for Josh.
Yeah, this is a big test for Spencer Brown, obviously, who is I told you guys I think he's the most improved player on this team this season. A lot of doubters on Spencer Brown. I think he's proven a lot of doubters wrong. And I think, like I said, I think he'll be motivated by this. I think he understands what he has ahead of him. I think they probably, all week at practice, he knows, right? He knows what he's going against. So if he struggles a little bit, which he might, you're going against one of the best, if not the best out there, to do it. They'll get him some help. They'll get him Dawson Knox, who's back now, who can block. It's too bad we don't know how to run a screen to our running backs, because this would be the game to do it. But I think they'll be up for the task. I do. I think Osiris Torrance will be up for the task. He's been playing very good this season for a rookie. I think he's only going to get better, by the way. Deion Dawkins, as long as we get the good Deion Dawkins, I think we'll be all right as well on that side. Because Deion, sometimes he's weird. Sometimes he just doesn't show up. McGovern, he needs a bounce back game. I thought last week, a little shaky. I thought but mind you, going against a very good player in Jones, I just thought he was bullied a little bit in that game. And I think he'll look at the tape film and understand that he needs to be better. But the most important thing is Joe Brady understanding when the line is having a tough game or tough time picking up the blitz or the pressure. He needs to figure a way to get, to put the offense in a better position. Whether that be get the ball out of Allen's hand quicker or run the ball or whatever you need to do as far as in-game adjustments. And I felt like last week, Joe Brady didn't do that very well when KC started to put the pressure on. He really didn't have an answer last week. We can't have that happen this week against the Cowboys because it'll get messy real quick. So trust me when I tell you, they will adjust Cowboys, and Joe Brady's going to have to adjust as well in this game at some point. So That's how I see it going.
Yeah, I mean, I love what you're saying there, Tommy. That's very good points. And I mean, we're just gonna have to make sure that our halftime adjustments are going to be even better this week than they were last week. But let me go on over to another topic, and I'm going to turn it over to Tommy again. I want you to talk a little bit more because the viewers are saying that you're not talking enough. They said that we had Roy Collins coming in saying this is the quietest that I've ever seen Tommy be.
I just got off a podcast.
Let me go back to Tommy again. So I'm going to make sure that you get your time now. Okay. I haven't been there.
No.
I understand what they're saying. They want more Tommy time. They don't want to hear from me.
I feel like I've been talking forever. Trust me, guys. I talk so much.
Hey, don't even worry about it, man.
I will say this real quick, though. What people don't understand too, this game is like a chess match, man. With these, it really boils down to the coordinators, right? One coordinator across from another coordinator on the other side of the field, right? And it's a chess match. It is, and sometimes that's why they say sometimes, you know, in that whole term, you got out coached, and it's true. Like it is a chess match, and sometimes it comes down to this one or two plays that you were, you know, beaten on, that you just didn't adjust right. And that was the problem with Dorsey. He didn't adjust enough. That's sometimes the problem with Sean McDermott. He gets a little tight in situations, and better coaches tend to use that against them, right? And I'm talking about the better coaches. Like Sean McDermott could beat hello.
Sorry, guys.
Hey,
That's
Sean,
actually,
listen, I love you, Sean. I don't mean to. I love you, buddy. If you're calling and complaining about that, I'm bitching about you.
Hey, listen, that's the Bills calling you.
Right, yeah. Why don't you shut the fuck up about our coach? We love Sean McDermott. Now, listen, Sean McDermott needs to. Here it is, guys. He has to be better as a head coach. This is it. Time, and I keep saying it. Clock management last week, for instance, and I'm going to say it again. Bad. Okay. We're driving 2 minutes, 7 seconds. Make the Chiefs use their timeouts. Run the ball. There's no reason to do a screen pass, a wide receiver screen pass to Stephon Diggs. Why would you make it harder? If you're saying it's the same as a run, but that's harder than a run. And by the way, Josh Allen isn't the greatest at throwing those passes at the wide receivers on the screen passes. He's really not. He hasn't been. He's honestly, since his rookie year, he's not the greatest. They're either short or high or behind. I love the guy, but that's not his game. He doesn't do that very well. So why make a difficult pass/run that clearly didn't work? And by the way, it didn't work all game. Stephon Diggs even dropped one. So that's on coaching. That's on Brady. That's also on McDermott. You need to be smarter, because if that was a playoff game, people would have been talking about that shit all game if they would have came down, scored, and beat us, because they would say, why the hell didn't the Buffalo Bills force KC to use their timeouts? So Sean McDermott has to be better at stuff like that. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to Sean McDermott. But no, man, like I said, chess match, man, and our coaches have to be better moving forward. That's all. And I think Joe Brady learned a lesson last week, and I really hope he did, and doesn't make the same mistake this week or moving forward.
Well, let me move it forward. I'm going to go with you, Tommy, again. Okay, I'm going to give you your limelight because the crowd wants it. So here's your limelight now. And the next topic that we're going to talk about is going to be Stephon Diggs. And we saw last week, and you kind of got into it a little bit, but it seems like that he was an afterthought in the offense, and the Bills weren't really trying to use him enough. They were giving him targets, don't get me wrong. They were trying to get him to feed him the ball, but it just wasn't working out. It's pretty much just what it came down to. So how can the Bills get Stephon back on track and get him over the 100-yard mark? Because if you look at the first half of the year, he had 66 catches. He was doing great things. And then it seems like all of a sudden the next 66 catches that he's tried to have, it's just been a totally different Diggs. So how can they get him back to the beginning of the season, Stephon Diggs, get him over the 100-yard mark and get him back to where he normally belongs?
Yeah. Well, one, don't force it, right? Don't force it to him because you want to get him to that 100-yard mark, right? Like that's not what let's not play that game. where we're trying to just make one player happy on the field. Okay, let's get that right, because that's not what this is about. This is about a team game. It's about winning ultimately, right? That's one. Two, last week, it was a little bit on Stephon Diggs too. He had drop passes. He looked a little sluggish. I remember texting my co-host Mikey, and right in the beginning of the game, I'm like, damn, man, Stephon Diggs just looks like he's coasting out there. He doesn't, and I know Stephon. Listen, I've watched Stephon Diggs since he's come here. That dude usually brings it 100%, right? 110%. But I just didn't catch that vibe. I didn't see that against the Chiefs. I saw a sluggish kind of Stephon Diggs. And that could happen. So how do they get him back? Listen, honestly, it just boils down to, how the defense is playing him. The defenses, let me tell you, defenses take your best player out. That's the 100%. He's not going to have great games every week in, week out, right? I get that. Will he get back on track? Sure. He's gonna make some noise here eventually. He has to. But I honestly, I'm not sweating that. I don't give a shit if he gets 30 yards and we win, right? I don't think he cares about that. As long as we get the dub, everyone's happy. But there's no simple way to answer that question, because at the end of the day, it's just about how the defense is covering him. If they're doubling him, if they're playing physical on him, if he's having a bad game, an off game, whatever. There's really no simple way to answer that, man. Honestly, it's just not. It's just, all I can say is don't force him the ball just to make him happy. But I don't see him complaining. I got to be real with you either. I don't see him saying, oh, man, I need more catches. I haven't got 100 yards in a while. Like, you know why he's not saying that? Because we're winning, right? Like, we're playing better on offense. Like, think about it. He was having his best games while we were losing. Like, who gives a, I don't think he cares, right? Like, who cares about that? So, as long as we win, everyone's happy. Stats are meaningless, honestly, at the end of the day. Like, so that's how I see it. I just hope to God they don't try to force him the ball, or Josh doesn't try to force, like, I got to get my one involved. I have to. And then we're throwing interceptions, right? So let's just go with the guy that's open. If it's Diggs, great. If it's Davis, great. If it's Shakir, great. If you look at the who was the game against the Jets? Who do we go to that game, right? We went to guys like Shakir. We went to a guy like Ty Johnson. Like, we went the opposite way. Why? Because the defense is so centered in on our main receiver that they weren't thinking about Shakir. They weren't thinking about Ty Johnson. And that's what the part about Joe Brady I liked, is that's creative. You're getting guys involved that normally defenses aren't preparing for. That's what I hope. Like, I want to see more Shakir. I want to see more, players involved that aren't normally involved. Like, I'm waiting for Hardy to get involved, which I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm waiting for Sherfield to get involved, which I don't think is going to happen. But I would love it, because defenses right now, watching film on the Buffalo Bills offense, are going, here's what we don't need to worry about. Hardy, Sherfield, right? Shakir, they're centered in on two guys right now. And the main guy is Diggs and then Davis. You get those other guys involved, Dalton Kincaid, Shakir, Sherfield, Hardy, we could be a very good team. That teams are having a tough, but those guys have to step up. Allen also is responsible and has to also look for those receivers as well. And Joe Brady also has to dial it up for those receivers, right? Sometimes it's easier said than, like, we could sit back and go, oh my gosh, Shakir wide open. But maybe the play call was for Diggs and Davis was his second read. And he couldn't get to the third read, which is Shakir wide open. So I think that's responsible. Joe Brady needs to be responsible for that as well, to dial it up for some of these guys and make them the first read or the second read.
Yeah.
Knox, even Knox too. But I think right now, Knox, I'll be honest with you, I think we need him more so like we used him last year. I think he needs to be more of a blocking tight end, and you need to use Kincaid more on this offense.
Completely agree with what you're saying, Tommy. And I'm going to give you one more second, because Dolphin Keith is asking, okay, Tommy, but what if Stephon goes over 30 million yards and the Bills lose? What are your thoughts then?
30 million yards. I would say I probably am done doing YouTube.
Yeah, I'd probably be in the same boat. Okay, I'd probably have to find
Yes.
what's going to happen with Stephon
If
Diggs.
we put it this
I
way,
don't think you meant million, Brett.
even 30, even 300. I think you meant 300. If he
I'm
went for
thinking 300.
300 receiving yards, okay.
But I'm just reading what
I
it says
still
here.
would be
Listen,
very upset.
I don't know. Maybe
I think you meant 30 yards.
Maybe Keith
And the
is
Bills
just having
lose?
a,
Okay, so if he went for 30 yards, okay. So what if so he's asking if he went for 30 yards and the Bills lose?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it what? I would say. Let me look at the film. Was Stephon Diggs open? Was Josh not looking at him? Did Dallas just totally take Stephon Diggs out of the game? Did Stephon Diggs drop passes? Like, I can't answer that because I don't know. It's, like, you know what I mean? Like, so that's a tough question for me to answer. But what if Stephon Diggs went for 30 yards and the Bills won?
right.
You know what I mean? Like, no one's going to be sitting here complaining. And by the way, if he went for 30 yards and we lost, everyone's going to be looking at the film going, okay, well, Stephon Diggs was never open, or he dropped this pass, or they just took him right out of the game. People are going to look at that and wonder. Now, if he's wide open, then obviously Josh Allen's going to get some heat.
Right.
But I don't think listen, I've looked at these film the past, since I've looked at it every weekend, but I don't see Stephon Diggs wide open in some of these games. I don't see Stephon Diggs so open that Josh is missing him. I just think I think defenses are dialing in, and Stephon's just having a little tough time right now. Getting free, getting separation. I will say, if you go back to last week's game, Gabe Davis wide open. But guess what? Gabe Davis was the third read by the time Josh. And by the way, I think that's more on Josh. I got to say, even if that was his third read, Josh has to see that. You got to see that. He was wide open from pretty much the time when he got the ball. I felt like when you go back and look at that play on Josh's head was all the way to the left from the snap. He was never going to look. And you can't do that as a quarterback. I think Josh needs to sometimes scan the field a little bit better, because he would have trust me, they totally blew the coverage here. And that's on Allen, and Allen has to be better as well.
Yeah, that's like when I mentioned how it seems like Josh predetermines who he's throwing the football to. Because when I was doing that play, when I was doing the O-line film, people were saying it was because like Chris Jones got the pressure, but then when you watch it, Davis literally instantly separated and was wide open through the seam, and Josh just looked at Kincaid the entire time. So it's like you have to actually look. You know the play. He knows that was the play design. So you have to look whether he's like Tommy said, whether he's your fifth read or your third read or your first read. He should never have missed that. And again, you can't be perfect. Josh, he tries his best. Everybody tries their best, but plays like that, like the play design, the routes that the offense is running. So how does he always, not always, but how does he miss those wide open plays for some reason? I don't know.
And another question that we have on the channel is from Roy Collins asking, curious if Diggs is such a great number one wide receiver, why is he being taken out of the games by opposing defenses so often? And I think personally, and I'll answer this one first, because I think it's more about what the defenses are doing, and they're making him the focal point, and that's how they have to view the Bills' offense. If you're looking at how the Bills run their offense with Joe Brady, it comes down to Stephon Diggs. That's where most of the passes from Josh Allen are going. And then you have to factor in putting a good number one cornerback on Gabe Davis, and that's what they've been doing, is putting the number two cornerback on Stephon Diggs while also having the best safety go up against Diggs. So they're bracketing him, and then then Davis is having the number one cornerback go up against him on the other side of the matchup, and that's how you beat Davis. And that's why the Bills have been going after guys like Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox over the middle of the field. And that's why you're also seeing guys like Ty Johnson and even having Khalil Shakir make big plays. And that's one of the reasons why the Bills are having to get the ball to their different players. But I want to see more motion plays where you're seeing Diggs get in the backfield, and you're also seeing Diggs be moved around the field. That's going to really help the Bills disguise where he's going to be. And I think it needs to happen a lot more. And yes, Diggs is a little bit older as a receiver. You see that normally with guys like Deebo Samuel and wide receivers like that, but you're going to have to move him around on the field to be able to get him in one-on-one coverage. And that's what I want to see more from the Bills. But let me go over to Sean and see his thoughts on that.
On Diggs?
Just what I'm saying there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was saying about CD, Mike McCarthy gets him involved any way possible in the slot, outside, any in the backfield. They'll do anything they can to make sure he gets the ball or he gets a favorable matchup. So he doesn't play a lot in the slot, but like I was saying, it's almost impossible to shut him down because they know how to work him. And to what Tommy was saying, it's up to up to Joe Brady to find what works best to get Diggs open. And lately it's been quiet, but I guess the solace in that we could say is that with our best weapon almost non-existent, we're still winning games, or we're fighting in games. Like, you basically, defenses are daring you to beat them with someone else other than Diggs. And unfortunately this year, Davis isn't what we wanted or expected as a wide receiver too. We basically, all of us saw it coming. You know what I mean? Like, he can be really good number two. He's still a good, good quality receiver, but he's not quite the number two standard yet. We thought he could do it this year, but unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out that way. So if a guy like Davis can step up against the Cowboys and they take away Diggs, then they might shift more attention to Davis. Then Diggs can get a favorable matchup. You gotta prove that you can do it with other people. If you look at that last game, our top two receivers had 4 catches total. So it's like somehow we won that game, but you got to do something else other than Diggs when it comes down to it. But like you said, motions, get him in the backfield, in the slot, just do whatever you can to get him in one-on-one coverage, because I like Diggs one-on-one with anybody.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't? I mean, if he's getting a one-on-one matchup, then I'm all in favor of throwing him the ball. But it just hasn't been that way the past couple of weeks. He's been the biggest target. And some of these, let's just be honest, Diggs' matchups that he's going up against, some of the cornerbacks that he's got that he went up against over the last few weeks, and guys like Trent McDuffie, I mean, you can go back to Sauce Gardner and matchups like that. Those are big-time cornerbacks that he's been playing against this season. And maybe some of it has to do with, obviously, the Bills have a really good number one wide receiver, and they have a wide receiver 2 that's been up and down quite a bit this season. And it's kind of like going to Universal and you're on a roller coaster and, you're riding. I always bring it back to metaphors that I know of. So you're riding one of the roller coasters there, and, you go through the ups and downs on that coaster, and you feel it. And that's how the Bills have been with Gabe Davis this season. So maybe a little bit more consistency from the wide receiver position and the other ones around him would really help. But let me throw it over to Tommy and get his thoughts on where I'm going with that and what my thoughts are, or what his thoughts are. I'm sorry. He was blanking out there. I had to throw it over to him. I was
blanking. Yeah,
I knew damn well you were. I knew it right then.
Somebody's text me over a bet, so I was just throwing in a bet. Okay. What was the question, brother? I'm sorry.
So no worries, but what we're getting at there is for the Bills and with the different wide receivers, and I was talking about how the number one, the Bills are with Stephon Diggs. They're having it's easy for opposing defenses to cover Diggs because you're also having guys like Gabe Davis, where he's pretty much I wouldn't say mediocre, but he's going through ups and downs games where he's not playing consistent enough. And the other wide receivers, I mean, like you talked about with Trent Sherfield and Deontay Hardy and Khalil Shakur, there's really nobody else that you have to factor into. So it's easy for defenses to figure him out, but you also he's been going up against some elite number one cornerbacks in this league over the past couple of weeks. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
On what are receivers getting open,
Diggs,
finding a way?
Diggs, why he's not getting the yardage that you normally see from him.
Well, I talked about it. I just feel like defenses right now are dialing in and blanketing him and doubling him. I think it's also probably getting in his head a little bit. Listen, defenses are smart. I told you guys before, this is a chess match, right? Defensive coordinators have a job to do. They watch the film. They understand what this Bills offense can and cannot do, what they do right, what they do wrong. They know player personnel. They know that Trent Sherfield has been a non-factor. They know that Deontay Hardy has been a non-factor. They know Khalil Shakir is up and down, right? He has good games, he has bad games. He's just not consistent. They know Gabe Davis is having a rough season. So yeah, they're going to dial it in on Stephon Diggs and take your number one out. That's what any good defensive coordinator would do. And that's what teams are doing, right? They're getting physical. You can see at times Stephon Diggs getting a little upset, on the field because defenses, corners are playing them physical, throwing them hard to the ground, just really just beating them up at the line. So that's how defenses are playing us right now. So when I go back to saying that these other receivers, you know how you get Diggs back involved? These other receivers have to be playmakers. They have to start making plays. That's when defenses will say, "Oh shit! Now we need help on Davis, or we can't just leave this guy alone anymore. We can't leave Shakir just roaming free." But if those guys aren't getting separation or getting open, or Joe Brady's not dialing it up for those guys, then we'll get what we saw last week, which was a non-factor in our receiving game. And that's what it was. But if you get guys, all it takes is one more guy. That's it. A Gabe Davis, like the 2021 Chiefs game, to break out. That's what you need. You need another player stepping up. You need a Khalil Shakir having a 100-yard game. That's how defenses will start respecting the Buffalo Bills offense and the receivers. Until that happens, no defensive coordinator is in their right mind is going to just have one-on-one versus Stephon Diggs or just play him light. Like this is what they're going to do. Listen, last week too, you saw James Cook getting involved in a passing game. Why? Because no other receiver was.
Yep.
Plain and simple. That he was the only guy because we don't often go to our running backs in the passing game. It's not what we do. But the Chiefs weren't ready for it. That's what I mean about Joe Brady having to be creative and start opening up different routes for these other players other than Diggs and Davis. Let's get Kincaid more involved in the route tree. Let's get him going deeper in passes. Let's get by the way, Deontay Hardy made a very nice catch. Beautiful pass by Josh Allen. But look, simple, just like that. Getting another player involved. That's all it takes. But that route was made for Deontay Hardy. That's what you got to do. You got to start opening it up for these other guys. You pay them to be on the team. You paid them in the offseason. Start using them.
Yep.
And if they're not the guy, if Trent Sherfield can't get separation, can't get open, then I have no problem with Justin Shorter getting called up and using and seeing what he can do, because we're not getting anything from Trent Sherfield. So we'll see. But those guys I'm telling you, man, our other weapons have to do their part. If they don't, we will see what we saw last week, which is not much from the receiving game. But I don't see that. I don't think that's going to continue on. I do think that we'll have a game plan. I think these guys will step up. That's kind of rare what we did last week with the whole receiving room having what was our best receiver, like James Cook, right? And he's not a receiver. Our best receiver, I think, had 20 yards, 25 yards, something.
Yep.
I think it was Deontay Hardy on the one catch. So that's rare. I think that won't happen much, right? So I wouldn't take last week's wide receiver room performance to heart. I think it can get better, but those guys need to step up.
Yeah, completely agree with you there. We have another person coming into the chat, and we got the Ghost of Judah Tribe coming in saying that you got to win the Super Bowl to be considered America's team. Right now, you're just losers. So,
Yikes.
Hey,
Cowboys fan. Huh.
Let's just figure out if he's a Cowboys fan or not. Might be a fan of another team, but we'll figure it out. But
we're probably a Cowboys fan because he's referring it to America's team, which is Dallas is known to be America's team. But listen, it's tough to defend that. I get it. Buffalo Bills have never won a Super Bowl, but we're in the now, right? And this is 2023, so we'll see what happens. But where did that come from? Who said Buffalo Bills are America's team, by the way?
Well, if you look at the title of the video, it says Buffalo Bills America's true team. And
I didn't see
never
that,
really got into it about why we picked that as the title for the video. And the reason why we picked it is because obviously the Buffalo Bills, they have red, white, and blue. That's the colors that they are. So we weren't really trying to troll a little bit or anything like that. That's not what we were trying to do. We were just saying America's true team because we're red, white, and Bills.
Yeah.
We're red, white, and Bills. We're also red, white, and blue. And I meant to say red, white, and blue. But I'm always thinking of Sean. It was a red, white, and Bills.
I didn't know. By the way, I'm a guest. I didn't know the title of your show, but I did do a video a couple years saying, is the Bills like the new America's team? And the only reason I said that, I think I did that video like a year ago or 2 years, is because I felt like a lot of people were starting to love the Buffalo Bills again. Like we were the hot story, and people, small town, red, white, and blue. Like I get that, but listen, if that's a Cowboys thing, I get that. America's team, but whatever. Like nobody, at the end of the day, nobody cares if it's America's. Let's be real. Like anyone cares about a Super Bowl, right? Like I don't care about the name thing.
All right, we got the Ghost of Judah Tribe coming back in saying, "LOL, see ya in about 30 minutes."
Bears fan.
Could you my quarterback for yours? Bears fan here. Okay, I understand.
Oh, go Bears! I think the Bears play somebody this week.
Bears play Cleveland this week, and we need the Bears to win. So we're
go Bears.
We're rooting for the Bears. Don't get me wrong, okay?
Yeah, go Bears.
And you got a good linebacker in Tremaine Edmonds. That's your linebacker that you guys paid a lot of money for him. We appreciate you doing that too. So, just kidding there. I mean, a little bit. We miss Tremaine as a whole. I mean, we miss him in the league.
I don't at all.
I miss just seeing his.
After too long.
By the way, gentlemen, the Lions are up 14-0, 8 minutes to go in the second quarter. So things are looking good for that game. We need the Broncos to lose. So that would be if the Broncos lose, we jump them. So let's go Lions.
Let's go Lions. Yeah. Let's get into our last topic that we're going to talk about. We're about an hour into the show, so real quick before we finish our last topic that we're gonna have for these are the main topics that we're gonna have. Then we'll get into some of the X factors and keys. We'll get into X factors quickly, keys to the games, and then give our score predictions. But the last topic that we're going to talk about is going to be how the Buffalo Bills are going to be able to get pressure on Dak Prescott, which has been one of the toughest things to do this season. He's been playing very good football, playing at an MVP level. I would put him and Josh Allen right up there as the top of the MVP candidates for the NFL right now. And Dan Orlowski came out and said that, number one, if Josh Allen wins this game against the Dallas Cowboys, that he should be not the Super Bowl MVP, but he should be the NFL MVP. So let me ask you guys this. Number one, how can the Bills get pressure on Dak Prescott, but how can they also make sure that he does not get the NFL MVP award this season? So I'm going to throw it over to Sean first and talk about this topic because I know you love the battle in the trenches. You were linebacker growing up, but you love the battle in the trenches. Let's talk about Dak Prescott and let's talk about this Bills defensive line and how they can get pressure on Dak.
Well, I was all over the place. Brad played center for a couple years. I played running back, so I was at a small school with no people, so I had to do a lot. So, but all over the place. But yeah, I mean, Tyron Smith is playing like he was in his prime again 5 years ago. He's been outstanding. He's number one rated tackle in the NFL. McGovern's replacement, Trey Smith. I think his name is Trey, but his last name is Smith too. He's the number one rated guard in the NFL. And then you got Zach Martin at right guard, who has more Pro Bowls than holding calls in his career. So this is an offensive line, and Dallas always has a good offensive line. When they played Philly last week, do you want to take a guess of how many pressures they gave up to Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis?
I'm gonna guess one, maybe.
Zero total. Both of them, zero. So it's going to be extremely hard, but they have a right tackle who in Steele, who is their weak link to their O-line. What I'm really upset about is not having AJ, because as good as Tyron Smith has been playing, nobody gets off the ball faster than AJ. So I felt that he might have been able to beat him a few times just with speed, but it's going to be – I think they can work Terrence Steele a little bit on the right side. We'll win a couple reps here and there, like, because no offensive line total can win every single time. But
Right.
They're an extremely well put together unit, well coached every single year. Jerry Jones played offensive line. He loves offensive line, and these guys will be physical, and they'll be hard to beat. However, their team as a whole is more penalty ridden than we are. So if we can, get lucky and they get some penalties and put them in bad situations, obvious passing downs, things like that, bring some blitz, we might be able to disrupt them. Because if we just bring four, it's going to be tough. Because Ed Oliver's playing like an All-Pro, but Jordan Phillips and Tim Settle have not. So it's going to be very hard to get through that middle of the offensive line unless we blitz. So, but doable.
Completely agree with what you're saying there. I think this is going to have to be a game where Von Miller is going to have to step up quite a bit. And I'm hoping we see his first sack. I predicted it last week. We didn't get to see it, but I think this could be the game that you see Von get his first sack. His burst was a lot better last week. I'm going to say that. He looked like he was getting back to his normal self. So we just need one more good week from him. But let me throw it over to Tommy, and let's talk about this defensive line for the Buffalo Bills getting pressure on the Dak Prescott. So let's get into that. But first, I'm going to take a moment. I love this comment from Roy Collins coming in saying Phillips and Settle have been straight up arse. So I like that comment from him. He can say it. I'm not saying anything there, but
I think more Settle than Phillips. I think Phillips has been all right. I think Phillips has just played out of control at times. I don't know if he's played like ass, though. He's a rotational guy. Settle's just been a bad signing since day one.
Yeah. Yeah, but let's get into it. Tommy, let's talk about that defensive line. I want your thoughts on that and how the Bills can get pressure, if there's any way that you think that's different than Sean.
Yeah, no, they can get pressure, sure. So listen, Leonard Floyd's been once again another great signing by Brandon Beane while Von Miller was rehabbing, getting his stuff back together, which he's still not quite yet, right? But 9.5 sacks, I expect him to get pressure. It's not always about sacks either, man. Sometimes stats lie or don't tell the whole truth, right? If you're putting pressure on a quarterback, making him throw the ball early or just hitting him while he's throwing it, that causes turnovers. Y'all see it. Our batted passes, the one that Ed Oliver did, those don't count. You don't see them. You're not going to see that at the stat line at the end of the game. So it's about pressure sometimes, and of course we love sacks. I would love to get home most of the time, but it's just sometimes that's not how it works. But Gregory Rousseau is finally totally 100% healthy. He's not even on the injury report anymore. Von Miller, the good sign with him last week was he was wearing no knee brace. His first game back with no knee brace. So that's probably why you saw him cut a little better. Speed was a little bit better. So that's a good sign that Von Miller took the knee brace off. So maybe we will see a Von Miller sack in this game. I expect Floyd to cause some pressure. I also expect Ed Oliver to cause some pressure like he's been all season. Also, Joseph's been a good signing as well, while Daquan Jones is rehabbing. So we have guys that can get to the quarterback big time. And Jordan Phillips, say what you want about him, but he does put pressure when he's out there. It's just he's just playing a little bit reckless, a little bit out of control at times this season. I don't know why. He's like almost seems like he has a chip on his shoulder. And he's costing the team at times with penalties. Can't do that. You got to play smart. But yeah, it's definitely not his best year, but I don't think it's his worst year either. Tim Settle is just I still don't get why Tim Settle is playing over Puna Ford. That's on Sean McDermott. I don't know why Puna's been in the doghouse since day one, but that's just the way it is. Also, sometimes we bring our linebackers in on blitzes. Bernard gets home when we send him on linebacker blitzes. I like to see that a little bit more in this game as well. Do not bring any safety blitzes. I do not want to see that. We fail at that every single time. I hope McDermott does not do that. I would like to see a corner blitz here and there. Something that we don't do often, but when we do, it works. But that's how you get to Dak, man. He's not Mr. Mobile, okay? He can move around the pocket, but he's not what he once was before that ankle injury or that broken leg or broken foot. So you can get to him. You can definitely get to him. And I do expect the Bills to have at least 2 to 3 sacks in this game against Dak Prescott.
Yeah, completely agree with you there. I think they're going to have more than 3. I think it's going to be quite a bit. But let's real quick. I want to get into the game that's going on right now. We have the Denver Broncos and the Detroit Lions playing right now. We did have a score update in the game. It is now 21-0 Lions, which only helps the Bills even more. A 15-yard touchdown pass from Jared Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown makes it 21-0 in the game, which is great. First touchdown was from Sam Laporta. From Jared Goff to Sam Laporta. And then Jahmyr Gibbs catching a touchdown pass from Jared Goff to make it 14-0, and followed by the Amon-Ra St. Brown 15-yard touchdown pass. So now 21-0 in that game. There is about it doesn't tell me how many minutes left in the game. I do apologize about that, but it is 21-0 so far in that game. But
10 seconds till halftime.
It's actually telling me they are at halftime now. So I was a little surprised. I'm looking at that going, it's already halftime of that game, and I couldn't believe it. But yeah, I keep thinking
19 seconds on my side, but yeah, I'm on ESPN's website. But yeah, it's halftime 21. It's going great. It's in Detroit. Unless Detroit like shits the bed, I don't see Denver making a comeback here. I do need Sutton to get a touchdown though for my bet.
That's on you though, man. We just need a win. But real quick, guys, I want to ask you, where do you think the Buffalo Bills rank this season in terms of sacks as a defensive team?
I think we're second in the league though, or third in the league. So we're not terrible as a group, as a unit. We don't have any prime time sack guys. I would say Leonard Floyd at 9.5 is pretty good. I still think he was on pace earlier to get 14. Obviously, that number went down because he didn't get any sacks last week. But I think Leonard Floyd still probably will finish around 12 sacks, which is good. You can't hate that. And everybody else is kind of getting their sacks. AJ Epinesa before he got hurt. Hopefully he can return because he was having a good season for us. I think he had 6.5, if I'm not mistaken. Ed Oliver, I'm not sure what his sack total is, but I know he has quite a few as well. Gregory Rousseau also. I thought Gregory Rousseau, to be honest with you, was going to have a much better year. He didn't as far as sack totals, but he's still having a good season. He's just not having that 10+ sack season like I thought he would.
So the Bills are ranked 3rd in the NFL this season in terms of sacks. The Baltimore Ravens are in first with 49 sacks this season. Los Angeles Chargers have 44 this season, and then the Buffalo Bills ranked 3rd in the NFL. They are tied for 3rd with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Indianapolis Colts. But obviously the Indianapolis Colts played already this week, and the Buffalo Bills will most likely have more sacks this week with Dak Prescott in house, and I think that's going to put them probably into second place. I'm going to be honest and say that they'll get back into second place. But let's go over our X factors for the game, guys. We got a couple more small segments that we're going to do, but let's go over our X factors real quick. And I'm going to start with Sean. Give one of your X factors on offense, one of your X factors on defense for the Dallas Cowboys and players that we must stop.
For the Dallas Cowboys, Jake Ferguson. I said this in the beginning of the year. Everybody wanted to say that we were good at defense in the middle of the field because of Tremaine Edmonds. And then I said, actually, it's because of Matt Milano. And I forgot who mentioned it, some other creator out there. So I apologize. I can't give them credit. But someone I was listening to mentioned how we're one of the worst defenses in the middle of the field this year. And that's Matt Milano's not playing. So Jake Ferguson is emerging as a really good tight end. And as good as Bernard has been playing and good in coverage. And honestly, he's been playing just as good as the guys like Fred Warner. He's been outstanding. But Dotson in coverage kind of, brings it down a little bit. And it's just when you blitz people too, the middle of the field's open. So it's just we haven't found that perfect balance. And so I think Jake Ferguson on offense. And then, defensively, obviously, I'm not going to say Micah Parsons because that's just the guaranteed. But, stay on the defensive line is DeMarcus Lawrence. He's still, a pro personified. He's always good, always rushing the passer, making tackles on defense in the run game. He's just a great all-around guy. So both tackles, the bookends are going to have a hard time. You're either with Micah Parsons or you're either with DeMarcus Lawrence. So it's going to – Spencer Brown, as Tommy said, definitely, without a doubt, most improved player on the team. He's going to have a big challenge all day, and so is Deion Dawkins. So, going to need a lot of good things from them.
Yeah, I agree with you there. We got a comment coming in from Science Owns Imposters saying, "Why do you slaves think you have to have a spiritual awakening? Because you don't know the truth and real story. Because the mafia Christianity didn't teach you the truth. Duh, you are supporting imposters. Wake up." I wonder who this could possibly be. This is, but I think I have an idea. It might be Mike Fortin coming in on the chat, but I doubt it is him though. But I just thought that it could be one of his
Why would I say that?
channels though. But Science Owns Imposters. Let me know who you're a fan of in the NFL. I'd love to know that and see.
Sounds like a robot.
It could be, but we'll see. But let me throw it over to Tommy. Give me your thoughts on who's going to be the X factors for you, other than Dak Prescott and obviously Micah Parsons.
I would say Tony Pollard. I think stopping Tony Pollard will be key as well. That will limit their play action. You don't want to get him going. He's a good running back. The Bills have semi-struggled against running backs really for the longest time. But I think if you shut down Pollard, that will limit them on the offense. So let's control the running game, and then we could tighten up on the receiver. So I think stopping Pollard is key in this game, especially because of the weather. They're going to be running it. This is a game that more than likely will be a type of game where running backs are going to get the ball more often than not, in my opinion. I think James Cook on the other side too is going to get more carries than he's used to seeing as well. So let's see. But stopping Pollard early, I think, will dictate the game.
Okay. Do you have one on defense too?
I would say Parsons. I mean, he's their game wrecker, right? Get him out of the game, stop him from getting to Josh Allen. And they got a lot of playmakers, but I think he is the main guy. I think he's the guy that can actually change the way a game goes, right? In a heartbeat. Turnover, sack, fumble, just being disruptive, making Josh Allen throw the ball early. That's what he does. He's a beast. So get him out of the game somehow. You got to figure that out, and that's up to Joe Brady, obviously, to design a good game plan. If that's, by the way, to get rid of the ball early, then so be it, right? If you want to play the short game against the Cowboys, which, by the way, wouldn't it be such a bad thing because of the weather? So play the short game if you want. You don't need to go deep and crazy in this kind of weather. Play the short game. Let James cook with the speed. Get the yards after catch. Same with Diggs. You don't have to go deep. Diggs is a great route runner. You can put him on slants, hooks. Same with Shakir. Same with Dalton Kincaid. If that's what they're giving us. But this game, I think too, you're going to see a little bit of Murray. You like I said, you want to establish that run game in this type of weather. So knocking Parsons out, by the way, too, like I said, will help that out as well, because he's good at run defense as well. So you got to figure a way to get him off his game. And if that's to have Dawson Knox come down and help out, then so be it. It is what it is, but we need to figure a way to stop him from getting to the quarterback.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm going to give you my X factors for the game. I'm going to start off with the offense, talking about Brandon Cooks, who doesn't get enough love in the Dallas offense. I think that if the Bills are going to be able to take away CeeDee Lamb like I'm hoping for, the next factor that you're going to have to worry about is going to be Brandon Cooks. And, I look back to some of the games against him when he was with the Patriots, and I just remember games where he went off. And yes, he's an older player in the NFL, but he's productive wherever he goes. And he was good with the Rams. He was good with the Patriots. He's good in Houston. And now with the Dallas Cowboys, he's going to be making a difference in this offense. So I'm going to take him. And then Roy Collins came in and stole my guy that I was going to talk about. And I was going to say Deron Bland on the other side of the ball. You got to worry about him and all the interceptions that he's had returned for a touchdown. That could be a big difference for the Bills. And you got to make sure that you're wondering where he's at. I don't know if you guys can hear it right now, though, but in the background of my house, I'm in Florida right now, and the weather is absolutely awful outside. We're going through a tropical storm type of conditions in December, which is very rare for Florida to have. But this is a winter storm that we're going through, which kind of makes me think about Sean being up in New York. You go through the winter storms. This is our winter storm that we're going through. Probably the worst thunderstorm that we're going to have this year. This year, as far as thunderstorms, but they're saying it's pretty much like a tropical storm that we're going through this season or this week. But let me go over to Sean again, and let's go over the keys to the game. Give me 2 keys to the game for the Buffalo Bills.
Well, the biggest one, if we turn the ball over, we lose. Can't give this Dallas offense extra possessions. Maybe if we turn the ball over one time and we force a turnover, they can cancel it out. But this is a team you don't want to turn the ball over again. So let's end that interception streak for Josh, and let's just have a clean football game for 1. And then 2, run the football and run it well. Brady did a good job the first couple weeks of staying on the run, and then Cook only had 10 carries last week. So I'd like to see him get a few more. Will we see Fournette? I don't know. I like how Ty Johnson's been running. I like when Murray gets the powerful runs. We have a great running back room, so especially in the bad weather, let Cook run the ball. They have their best run stuff and D tackle out. So Cook's got that burst of speed. He might be able to run up the middle and get a quick burst of yards. And then if we're good at getting to the second level, which Torrance has been good at, so is McGovern and Spencer Brown too, getting to the second level off of double teams. Cook should have a really good day. And again, you can always block out, down block, reach block, all this stuff to get the good players out of the way. So run the football.
Yeah, completely love what you're saying there, Sean. Tommy, what are your thoughts? How can the Bills have some keys to the game and be able to beat the Dallas Cowboys this week?
Yeah, man. Like I said, you got to go how the weather's going, right? It's going to be one of those rainy, a little windy, typical Buffalo game. which, by the way, that helps us, right? Dallas is a dome team. Like I said, man, Brady needs to dial it up with the running backs, I think, early on, which will establish the play action. That's what opens up play action, guys. If you don't run it, no team's going to bite into the play action. We'll see with Fournette. I wish I could sit here and say, oh man, Fournette could be, but I have no idea. I have no idea. I like what I see from Ty Johnson. Yes, he's a physical runner. He has some speed to him, but let's be real. Right, Leonard Fournette. I mean, he's proven. Right, he's a guy that's won a Super Bowl. He's a guy he's a good running back. He's a physical running back. He's a pass catching running back. He had 1,200 yards all purpose last year. Even for an aging running back, pretty good. I'll take it all day. But who knows? We may never see him. I have no idea what the Bills are doing with that. So he says he knows the playbook. He's ready, but I don't know. We haven't seen him. So right now, I'm just going to go on. We are going to have the three that we normally have, which is James Cook, Murray, and Ty Johnson. I think Murray needs to get more carries this week. I do. I think this is a game where he needs to, get more carries and just basically break down that defensive line of the Cowboys, soften them up a little bit, and then you can get Cook going more. Also, Cook in the pass game. Let's continue with that. Teams aren't defending him out the backfield. You see what he could do, right? He did have the one bad drop with the Chiefs, but he made up for it last week against against Philly. He had the drop, and he made it up for it in the Chiefs game. So, we need to see more of that from James Cook, the receiving part of the game. We know we could do running wise, but I really hope, by the way, in the future, James Cook, he needs to get some weight on him because he's a liability for the pass protection. That is the only thing that is really hurting James Cook. And I know a lot of people are like, why isn't James Cook on the field? Why isn't he getting carried late in games? Because a lot of the times they're going to passing downs and they need pass protection out there. And he's not the guy. So if he can bulk up a little bit, get better at pass protection, I think you will see James Cook get more carries and be a 1,000-yard running back. That's one thing that Devin Singletary did well. He pass protected well. We just didn't have the offensive line, right? If he had this offensive line, I promise you, Devin Singletary would have 1,000 yards. I promise you.
You already have a problem.
He would have more carries as well because of that offensive line. But he's not here, and this is what it is. But James Cook has one thing he didn't have. He's better at pass catching, and he's also faster. He could take it to the house. That's one thing Singletary couldn't really do well. He didn't have that speed that Cook has, and he was an okay at getting the ball in the backfield. But yeah, I think this game, like I said, run the ball, even if it's 1, 2 yards, 3 yards, it doesn't matter. That's going to open up play action. I'm telling you right now. That's what we need to do. We also, I think, too, this is a game where Dalton Kincaid should be dialed up. I really believe that. This is a tight end type of game as well. This is a game where you want to get your tight ends involved. That short underneath stuff. We did it last week. Might as well do it again because this is the game you want to do it. Not against last week. I think last week we didn't use them right. This week, rainy, shitty kind of weather, fine. Letting Dalton Kincaid get the short underneath stuff and let him make a play after the ball. Yards after catch. Yak, right? That's what we call it. So that's how I see us winning on offense. Defense, I feel like we've done our job, man. Honestly, it's just keep putting pressure on Dak. Sean McDermott, if the game's close, don't change it up. Don't go in a hole and start shaking. You got to trust your defense at some point to make a play. You can't keep doing the soft zone, prevent type defense when games get tight. Can't do it. Okay. It bites us every time. So hopefully the game's not close. We don't have to worry about that. But if it is, Sean McDermott needs to keep up with the defensive aggressiveness that he does through 3/4 of a game. He just feels, I don't know why he changes it up. And that's something that he has to be better at. But that's how we'll win. And obviously no turnovers. So keep the turnovers low. You can probably expect Josh Allen to have 1 turnover. Okay. I'm just throwing that out there. He's going to have 1 interception. Right? more than likely. But let's win the turnover battle and obviously time of possession. If you do those, you're going to win the game. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I love what you're saying there, Tommy. I think that's absolutely great. Let's get into score predictions real quick. This will be the last topic that we'll talk about. We got a lot of people coming in the chat. I'm trying to get to it as much as possible. But if you're watching on the channel, put up your score predictions. Put them in the channel. Put them in the comments as well. Definitely we will get to those. But let me start with Sean. Give your score predictions for the game.
It's going to be a close one. Dallas doesn't play their best on the road, but comes a point where things don't matter. But I think there's two great teams, two good offenses. Rain, I want to say 28 to 27, Buffalo.
Oof.
It's going to be one of those games. It's going to be a legacy-defining game for Allen and McDermott.
Love it, man. Absolutely love it. I'm going to give a prediction for this game. I'm going to say it's going to be very important, number one. I say that the best kicker in the NFL in Brandon Audrey is going to miss his first kick as a pro inside of Highmark Stadium this week. It'll be because of the crowd noise, and that'll cause them to miss the kick. So that's my prediction for the game. But I will have the Bills winning this game. I think that this is going to be a final score of 24 to 17 in the game. I think the Bills will win by one touchdown, though, but I think you'll see a very, very good game from the Bills. They're going to be disciplined and get over the 20 points this game. Very early on, and I think that they're just going to coast their defense, and it's going to be just a little bit of catch up from the Dallas Cowboys, and that's how they're going to get back to a one-score game. But I think the Bills are going to be ready. Tommy, give me your thoughts on this. Where you think the scores are going to be?
Yeah, I think the Bills win 27-17. I think if they finally get a win that's not such a close game, I think the Bills control this game. From the beginning, I just do. I just think that the Bills go up and don't look back. Dallas will score at least 17. I'm going to give them 17. They could score less. I got to be honest with you. Like I said, it's on the road, outdoor game. It's going to be one of those kind of games where it's going to be a little ugly at times. Like who's going to win the trench battle? And I just feel like the Bills are due a game where we have a game where we win by more than, a field goal or something, so I'm going to give this game 27-17. I think the Bills are on a mission. And by the way, like I said, I've said this before, the Bills tend to play their best football down the stretch. And if they win this game, watch out, man. I really think that they can, win the rest of it, win out and possibly win the division. Let's see what happens this Sunday. It's going to be very interesting to see if the Dolphins lose. But we still, even if they win, we still have an opportunity. They got a gauntlet ahead of them. They have to play the Dallas Cowboys as well, Baltimore and us. So I think it's in our hands right now. I think right now it's in Buffalo's hands, and it starts tomorrow. They win tomorrow. I think they can win the rest of the. Like I said, they can win the remaining three, and that's it. And then we'll go into the playoffs as one of the hottest teams in football. But they have to win tomorrow. Like if that's the case, if they lose tomorrow, I'm not saying it's over, but it's going to be tough. I think it makes it a lot tougher, especially with how the Browns right now are 8-5. A lot of teams have that tiebreaker over us. You get that win, I think that's a momentum boost and confidence booster for this team.
Yeah, completely agree. But Beth B coming in asking who is in the lineup after Rapp for safety with Hyde out. That's a good question, though, Beth. It's either going to be
I believe
Hamlin or it's going to be possibly even Cam Lewis. So that's to be determined. But we do have a score update in the Denver Broncos game. The Broncos have marched down the field. They have scored and to make it 21-7 in the game. It was, I'm trying to see who caught that touchdown pass real quick, but the Broncos did score on that play. So it was not Cortland Sutton, though.
Oh, damn it.
Was not
Way to
Cortland
go.
Sutton, but
Who was it? Damn it.
I'm trying to see who it is. I'm not familiar with the.
So it's not updated on my end. It's probably because they're reviewing it.
They are reviewing the play, actually. So,
yeah.
So it looks like it's a booth review. They're determining if it was a catch, and it does look like the ball hit the ground, so it will not.
Oh, my.
See
that? Oh, see that, Brad?
Yeah, see, I got a little bit ahead of myself, but it did look like it was on the board as a touchdown, though, so it just came in. But real quick, I want to get to this comment from Beth B saying, I can trust our defense, but Ed, Greg, Floyd, and Bernard, as well as Poyer, need to have huge games, and if not, next man up. Completely agree with that statement. But I want to stay on real quick just to get that that announcement of whether that's going to be a touchdown or not. They are in the commercial break real quick, but real quick, I'll give it you guys closing thoughts. I'll start with Sean, and as soon as they do come out of the commercial break and they announce it, I will put my finger up, and so just keep your eyes on the screen. I'll put my finger up and wait for the signal for whether it's a touchdown or not. So, Sean, I'll start with you and closing thoughts real quick.
Well, it's time to see what the team's made of. I mean, if we lose, we still have a path, but the best path is just to win out. So it's time to see what the coaching staff and the players are made of, and at home, let's not let it end. Let's keep this momentum going, and like Tommy said, be the hottest team coming into the playoffs.
Yeah, completely agree with what you're saying there, Sean. I think we will be the team to beat when the playoffs come around, and it's one game at a time. You just got to treat it like 1-0. That's pretty much the saying that you have to have. But let me throw it over to Tommy real quick and get his closing thoughts. And also, I want to say thank you so much, Tommy, for being on Nickel City Mafia. We greatly appreciate you, man. I know on the bottom of the screen we had the banner that came up that had the correspondence, but you know, as a special guest, we do greatly appreciate you being on here.
Yeah,
and, you do incredible work. So, Nickel City Mafia, if you don't already follow Tommy on Mafia Sports Report, click on over to his YouTube channel. Give him a shout out. Let him know that Nickel City Mafia sent you over to him. And also remember to click the notification bell for him so you can find all of his upcoming shows that he will have. We are still in the booth review real quick on the touchdown. Gene Sterator is giving his analysis of whether it is a touchdown or not. And, you know, he's always back and forth on everything. He can never give it. It is actually a touchdown. The call stands on the field. They gave it to them as a touchdown. So it is a touchdown, and there is not enough to overturn the call.
Yeah,
so
Humphrey.
They're not saying that it was an actual touchdown necessarily. They're just saying they're keeping the call as Stanton's. So it was Humphrey, like you said, that caught that pass from Russell Wilson. So it was Lil Jordan Humphrey that caught that pass. Great name in the NFL. But Tommy, give your closing thoughts, though, man.
Yeah, man. Just Buffalo Bills. It's in their hands, man. This is it, man. This is they got themselves in this situation. Right? We could have a much better record, but it is what it is. We're here. We still have an opportunity to make the playoffs and win the division. They know this. They understand this, and they need to play their best ball. And that's everybody, right? This is a team game. Everybody needs to do their part. That includes the offensive line. That includes the defensive line. Includes safeties. Everybody, coaching staff. Everybody has to step up to the plate. The time is now. There is no more time. There is no more games where we can look bad or lose because of a stupid play or bad coaching. Everyone has to do their part. And if they do, I think this team's good enough to win and win out and potentially make a Super Bowl run. If they don't, then it is what it is. We're going to miss the playoffs, and we're going to also sit here talking about why this team failed in the regular season. And I hope that doesn't happen. I don't believe that will. but it starts tomorrow. And like I said, Josh Allen, you got to play a little bit better and than what you did last week. Though I thought last week you did okay. I do. I thought you played pretty good. It wasn't your best performance, but we need you to be better. Stephon Diggs, we need you to be better. There's certain guys on this team that didn't show up last week that need to show up. And that's it. That's all. And if they do, we'll get the dub, man. I'm not worried about Dallas. We've beaten Dallas in Dallas on Thanksgiving. I trust this team. If this team does, limits the turnovers, play smart football. If Sean McDermott doesn't go super conservative, then we'll get the win. And that's it. I truly believe we're one of the better teams in the NFL. Our record doesn't show it, unfortunately.
Yeah, completely agree there. But I'm going to give our closing thoughts real quick. Obviously, do have another game that's going on NFL Network. So after we are done, go on over to NFL Network, check out the game. It's starting to get a little bit fun. We just had a pass go over the middle of the field to about the 50-yard line with a Mon-Ross St. Brown. But I want to say thank you to everybody that joined us in the chat. We had a couple of new people that joined us in the Ghost of Judah Tribe joining us, as well as Roy Collins. I haven't seen Beth in a long time. That's great to see him. Science Owns Imposters. I only saw them once, but great to see everybody in the chat. Appreciate you guys for coming out and listening to us. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow the Nickel City Mafia. Also, don't forget to click on over to the Red, White, and Bills, Go Bills podcast, and Mafia Sports Report, where you can find a ton of Buffalo Bills news all around. And we got 3 great guys on the screen. But this has been the Red, White, and Ruthless. We'll see you next Saturday at 8:30 for another edition of the Red, White, and Ruthless. Until then, go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.